1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, as an average reasonable person, you have to ask, how do sororities work? Because this debate is both about the concept, but as all teams agree upon, it's also about the manifestation of this as an institution. Guys, sororities are pretty much like orgs, just like the clubs we have with our respective debate societies. You get what you give, and the extent of your involvement is up to your own capacity. Sure, there might be some weird factors that might make it weird to like change sorority, might cause some drama to be able to leave. But as an average woman, if these people portray this to be so shitty or to be so perverse as proposition portrays it to be, then you can just bounce. You can just be not as involved. And in instances where it does work out for you, you fall in love with the people there and the ideologies, then go lang. You can keep going to their events, joining them in the rituals, and helping those future particular people. It's not for everyone. People aren't necessarily forced to join it. And I think that because of the rise, you specifically create an incentive structure for people to somehow be able to find their place in terms of what they necessarily want. What is my extension coming from closing opposition? Rebuttals will be integrated. The extension is going to be demonstrating what are the harms of government's underdeveloped counterfactual, and specifically why it uniquely has to be through the concept and institution of a sorority. Because proposition was quite vague. They were like, yeah man, we can still forward feminist ideas either way, but as the info slide dictates and as what we see in the world, there are still a lot of structural limitations because of the patriarchy, because of the idea of fraternities, that make it especially hard for women to do these things by themselves. Absent the collective group and absent the ability to come together, you uniquely make it more difficult for those particular people to find an identity. The first thing I have to say is that even if the feminist movement has evolved, because I understand globalization, I agree with our opening that things are necessarily better and not as toxic, and the missing mechanism here is cancel culture. If you're a shitty sorority or you're a shitty person who like literally forces them to do things what they don't want to do, you're gonna get canceled. If you have certain hazing rituals or things that violate people's rights and identity, you're probably gonna get wrecked. And the nuance to the rise is that you actually have the role of the media and the role of the school to want to police these particular things, which actually lead to these sororities starting to be cognizant and self-policing themselves when they don't want to be able to go overboard. Everyone's different. Some might be more extreme sororities, some might be more chill, but all of them are likely to operate under the confines of humanity. Number 2, I think that the mechanism that opening opposition missed is explaining how exactly this collective action comes to be. Because the analysis here is that, at best, absent the rise of sororities, all of these noble ideas and intentions just remain in an echo chamber. It becomes an underdeveloped idea, just like proposition's underdeveloped counterfactual, and it just becomes potential. But perversely, in the worst case, these particular women end up becoming even more radicalized, and the manifestation of that is they become more exclusionary and cliquish, meaning you're from Imperial Manila? Welcome to our sorority. Province ka, or you're a bit on a different side of the spectrum, either financially or sexually or whatever metric they have to choose, then those particular people get further ostracized. Side proposition doesn't necessarily solve that particular problem. But what we think, and something that everyone necessarily missed, is that these sororities actually create an incentive structure for you to be able to find that role in order to be able to feel safe. Yeah, POI, game.
That often manifests on your side because when there's a standard, this means that if you don't adopt the standard, you're more likely to be ostracized. What we explain on our side of the bench, there is no standard. Therefore, every individual who doesn't have to opt into that standard and feel much more accepted on our side of the bench.
Every single functional thing in society has a fucking standard. Debate societies have standards. Guys, if you're like shit, then Sucks to be you. Maybe find something else to do, right? Sororities aren't for everyone. So, some people want to be like an introvert and just chill and study by themselves. And all of these things can coexist. The rise of sororities doesn't necessarily mean, hey, bro, sali ka pare, or else bugbog bigin kita, I'm gonna hit you with a bat. No, bro, like, the way these sororities work is that you come in as a freshman and like Malcolm Hall, excited for your law journey. Someone goes up to you, tries to be your friend, wants to buy you coffee and says, you wanna join? Here's a flyer. No thanks. All good, bro. Vibe check this. Ask an average doctor friend or lawyer friend, bro, were you bullied or coerced to join a soro? They're probably gonna be like, nah. I joined it from my own accord, but many people are perfectly fine and happy absent that. Thirdly, what exactly are these feminist movement ideas? Because everyone in the debate's been kind of vague. I think we can characterize this into the following. Number one, inclusivity and diversity, which reflects the globalized nature and expanding nature of the multiple strands of intersectionality that opening talked about, but ultimately are able to fit together. I'm not saying kumbaya, all be friends, but literally be able to coexist because of sororities. Number two, being able to challenge the structural limitations of particular patriarchies and fraternities. For instance, Maslow's hierarchy. Before you get into all that identity vague bullshit that opening talked about, you first need to be able to feel safe. And that happens literally when you have other women who are willing to walk you to the library or walk you after your late night class or coming from a shift as a nurse in the hospital in order to be able to feel safe and just foreign idea in place. Thirdly, being able to protect and perpetuate the legacy of this institution, because these particular sororities are bigger than you and me. They form a part or even a cult of personality for themselves, which we think is just ultimately good, because these things create an incentive for you to be able to help other people. It creates an incentive for you to be able to be generous and help those particular people, even if they're different, because of that particular shared experience, context, and identity that you all share. We are very proud to extend and stand inside closing opposition.